Hi, Anindo.
Hi,
Welcome to
how are you?
sudeepaudio's channel.
Thank you so much for having me over.
Anindo, if you could introduce to our viewers a little about your journey, and then we will speak about the 17th IRAA Awards, of which you are
Mhm.
one of the honorable jury members.
Thank you.
So, if you can just tell us a little about your musical journey, and then we'll move on to the IRAA Awards.
Yes, I'll make it quick. So I'm a producer, engineer, and a live sound engineer. And this is now about 18 years that I've been in this industry. And I have worked with a lot of independent bands from the Delhi circuit because, of course, I'm based out of Delhi. And over the years, I've had the opportunity to work with some fantastic artists, bands, choral ensembles, Indian classical artists. Worked on jingles, documentaries, so the usual thing that happens. And of course, from there, the live performances with my own bands like Advaita and Shadow and Light, which both are pretty well known now in the circuit. And it's been a fabulous journey. And I think the music profession itself is such a sort of inspiring profession to take up for most musicians. And within that, when you get to write your music, produce it, and sometimes also help other musicians, and slowly over the years, when you start picking up the trades and you start mentoring them, it just becomes very fruitful, and you have a very wonderful experience. So yeah, that's me. And of course, you can see this is my studio. This is Plug and Play Studios. I'm also a keyboard player, so I've been playing keys for many years now. So it's like an all-in-one sort of thing that I would say that I do.
So I think this has been the fastest introduction of a musician on this channel ever. So no, you were really quick, but Anindo, if you could tell us about the things that you've learned and gathered over the years. I believe you are an independent artist. So, what is it that experience has taught you, and what is it that you feel that today's artists are enjoying with platforms like IRA and other avenues that they have?
Well, my journey has been that of an independent producer, musician, live engineer, and all of what I've learned is completely self-taught. It started from the time when I started playing with bands, and the primary focus there was, how do you get across the communication from stage to, let's say, the other end, the back end, whether it's in the studio with the producer or the engineer, or whether in the live format with the live engineer. And at some point, it also felt like at least a couple of people from the band should also have those technical skills to be able to communicate better, because communication, I think, is key, because all that gets lost in terms of all the technicalities. But what the feel of the song wants is something that you should be able to communicate. And so over the years, I think the resources have increased so much for most upcoming musicians and engineers. I think it's a wonderful time to be in. We are seeing technology shift so quickly, even keeping up with it, being an experienced engineer, sometimes you find very challenging, because what is the trend, what is the norm, it keeps changing, right?
Hmm.
But it's still great when you have certain discussions on WhatsApp platforms, or you may be communicating with certain other engineers in a small little conference, or perhaps catch up with them at a gig, and then you exchange ideas. So I think a platform like IRA, which is now almost 17th edition now, so it's truly wonderful, because the initiative is to recognize that work, because for most consumers, they're just listening to music.
Hmm.
They don't ever listen to it with the technicality with which an engineer listens. So appreciating that is a fundamental part of this entire process. And I'm so glad that it's becoming larger with every edition, and I'm truly honored to be one of the jury members. And I just encourage more and more engineers out there to just keep submitting your nominations. And with so many requests coming in, we've actually extended the deadline.
Yes, that's true. And 15th November is when the deadline has been set
Yes.
to. So, Anando, as a jury member,
Mhm.
how do you listen to the submissions that happen? What is the system that you use to kind of evaluate the songs that you are judging, or at least evaluating?
Right.
What kind of setup do you use, if you could tell us?
Well, I most recently got the Genelec SAM 8361As, which are like absolute top of the line monitors, and I'm very proud to say that this is the first studio in Delhi to have these monitors. I do know there are some home setups, home theater systems that are set up with a similar thing, but these are the newest things to my studio, which is around 16, 17 years. And apart from that, I also have the Dyna Audio BM15As along with its subwoofer, which I think you can see one of the speakers right here. So they were my speakers for so many years, but these monitors, the General X, have come in just barely 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
So now I have two, high-end systems to listen to the music. When I'm listening to these mixes that are submitted for IRA, I first hear it as a listener, and I try and keep the engineering aspect to it right towards the end. Because I want to first be able to connect and try and go to the thought process of whatever's gone on in the musician's mind, and then try and see if the engineer's been able to communicate and then complement that with their expertise and tools. And then all the techniques and all the measurements and all those things come right in the end. It's not really about those numbers and that absolute perfect frequency response, or how it's translating, but it's more about, is the vibe feeling right for that song? Which is a very important thing, I feel, over the years, that this is the something that you discover as an engineer. It's just less and less about those numbers and techniques, but more about, okay, is this something that you would like to associate with? Would you like to hear this 10 years down the line and feel like, yeah, that was like a wonderful piece of work, and you felt like that was truly artistic, and that hopefully that trust that you build with those people that you work, they come back to you again and again. That's the thing that you're trying to build. So it's very easy for me. I try and listen to it just purely as a song first. Then I'll try and look at, okay, what are the little technical things that the engineer has done to enhance certain things, and then you are given certain parameters and you evaluate that to the best of your ability, without being biased, without having any kind of preconceived notion of how something should sound, because it's as much a learning process for the jury, I would say, as it is for the engineers who are being evaluated in this process.
Nice. So, how has this jury duty been? Very challenging, enriching, time consuming. How has it been so far?
Oh well, it's huge. The responsibility is huge because first of all, to live up to that trust, which everybody's putting onto you, and then you got to stay fresh. You're listening to so many different entries, and you're trying to listen to each track again and again. And sometimes the ratings just make it so narrow. It's almost like an Olympic race, and it's like that 0.01%. Maybe works towards one particular engineer, and that's how they make it to the top. It's not to say that the other people are not done a good enough job, but unfortunately, because in an evaluated system, you just have to have those top 3 or top 5 contenders. So we try and look at all those maybe those loopholes right towards the end and see, okay, what is it that something might have got missed out, and that's how you get to your pick, your choice, and then of course it's possibly again shuffled and everybody listens to each other's top 5 picks, and then you evaluate it again. But it is tiring, definitely, sometimes, because you have so many entries, you go through it, and occasionally there will be something that you listen to and you're like, yaar, ye kya de diya tumne? How could you even upload that? But it's okay, it's part of the process, and possibly somebody's just you're putting their heart and soul out wherever they are in their respective field, and in the growth chart, I would say, in their journey, maybe they feel that they've done the best. And obviously with experience, when you listen to it, you feel like, okay, this is maybe this is not yet cut that qualification or that qualified rating, let's just say. But yeah, I mean, it's a long process, and hopefully we get some more time this time to evaluate. Sometimes it gets very rushed.
Right. So, just like you said, the process involved, the amount of listening that you have to do, and it's being listened to by other jury members also, with a lot of secrecy and transparency kept in place.
Yes.
It sounds really kind of tiring, kind of a thing. But जैसा आपने कहा, अरे ये कहाँ सबमिट कर दिया, ऐसा फीलिंग कभी आता भी होगा. Similarly, do you
बिल्कुल आता है.
जी, आपको ऐसी कभी फीलिंग आती है कि बॉस, क्या गाने सुनने को मिल रहे हैं, क्या नया काम सुनने को मिल रहा है, ऐसा काम अपने देश में होता है, दैट काइंड ऑफ वंडर, डज दैट आल्सो हैपन?
एब्सोल्युटली. बहुत इंस्पायरिंग होता है इन मोमेंट्स पे, जब कुछ अच्छा वाकई में लगता है कि यार, wow, that's like you can really tell that the heart and the intent and everything was just perfect about that song. और तब उस मौके को सुन के, उस moment को we try and cherish it as much, and बहुत एक inspiring feeling होती है उसमें, like when you're hearing that and you're like, okay, wow, this is such a wonderful thing, and like you're so lucky to be hearing the best of the best work which is slowly coming to you. And then usko fir sometimes rating it is also hard, because you feel like you might just be in that same position yourself, because we are also engineers, we are also producers, we write our own songs. So sometimes we try and detach ourselves from that jury duty per se, or usko just as a fellow peer, and another person in that same industry, we try and hear it like that. But there are fabulous moments like that, definitely, and across the board. It's not just that songs only have to be like that. Sometimes it could be just a soundtrack, it could just be a devotional piece of music, it could be some sound design work that people have given, or maybe something to do with other submissions in the OTT platforms. So there are so many different verticals, and it's just wonderful. And this year I think काफी कुछ expansion उसमें भी हुआ है, like best studio awards and so on, a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of categories this year we have been added.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Anindo, on a closing note, we'll do a separate video with you on your journey for the channel.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
फिलहाल focus is on IRAA Awards. So
Yes.
बहुत लोग ऐसे हैं जो बोलते हैं कि यार मैं क्यों सबमिट करूँ, छोड़ना क्यों, मतलब कई बार वो हेजिटेंट होते हैं, टू पीपल आर हेजिटेंट टू सबमिट और पुट अप देयर नेम्स फॉर नॉमिनेशन, थिंकिंग, so what would you like to tell them ke boss, go for it?
This is backed by a very, very reputed jury. Their work speaks for itself. We are not just saying this is the brand you must associate with. We are saying that there is a certain trust that the industry has vested in certain people. We are very, very honored and privileged to be able to, take this forward. And I think it's good to get recognition, a little pat on the back sometimes, because our profession, like I said, is such that हम लोग हमेशा studios के अंदर बैठे रहते हैं. We are not those people who are hogging the limelight. There is a different way, the way we work. Even as engineers on stage, live sound कर रहे हैं, monitors के पीछे हम लोग छुपे हैं, or we are in a small little खोपचे में बैठ के live कर रहे हैं sound, as and so people don't get to see that. So it's good to be able to put out your best work. It has to be your best work for sure, because it's a visiting card at the end of the day, and whoever's listening to it should just feel like, yeah, who was the hand behind this, and we would love to associate with that work. And by putting in your best work, you're just raising the bar. And I think as a community of musicians and producers, that's very helpful for the whole country. And of course, then that helps us all get accolades in the international scene also. And I would tell you definitely from personal sort of experience that I had never submitted my own work initially, because I was also amongst some of you who felt like, "Nahi, theek hai, it's okay." I mean, it felt very awkward to be, just putting out your work and saying, "Acha, isko judge karo, I'm so and so and this and that." And but there were so many friends who told me that you should just put it out anyway. It doesn't matter whether you win or lose. And really, it's just showcasing that work, because at the end of the day, the industry's topmost professionals are getting to hear your work, because that also is another part of the process. It's not just winning the category, but maybe someone from there might say, this is a very interesting piece of work, whoever's done that, let's associate. So there are so many other avenues and things that open up. So I really, really encourage all of you to just make sure you put in your best work, extend ho gaya deadlines, finish that final mix and upload it. And all the best to all of you.
Anindo, thank you so much for putting in such encouraging words and inviting people to submit the nominations. Sound engineers in a recording studio and as an FOH or a monitor engineer is actually the boss at that time. So it is time to show the world by being a part of IRAA that yes, recognize us and let us shine as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Anindo, and wish you all the best and hope to see you soon.